All right, so if you've clicked on the video, you're probably already triggered because we have insulted the great Bijan Robinson, and I'm just going to let you know now, we don't really care what you think. This is not a safe space. You're going to have to get over it and watch the video if you actually want to get some good information. So with that, all that being said, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're not scared to give you information that's going to help you win your dynasty leagues and win your fantasy leagues. We're not scared to hurt your feelings in the process either. So we're trying to come out with some of the best content in terms of up-to-date and have a good feel for the community as well. So make sure you hit the subscribe button. We're growing our community. We appreciate that. Make sure you like the video. Let's talk about Bijan. So something that I've been thinking about lately, and I know you're sitting there with the tears running down your face. Here we go. But something I've been thinking about lately is that I think Bijan has kind of ruined Dynasty for some people. And we're going to expand on exactly what we mean by that. We would not go after probably the most loved player already in Dynasty without having the facts to do it. And we do. So let's go ahead and look at some of this and why we think this way about Bijan. So the reason, just to start us off, that I do not think very highly of Bijan Robinson in Dynasty is not anything to do with the player he is. Bijan Robinson is an elite running back prospect, as elite almost as it gets. He is very, very good. You watch him, his explosiveness, his vision, his athleticism, everything that you would want in a running back prospect, you're getting in Bijan Robinson. There's not even a good comp for him because he is very unique, but he is also just so, so good. So this is nothing about Bijan Robinson, the player. This video is about how dynasty teams and dynasty managers like you have completely tailored their entire strategy in Dynasty around one player, Bijan Robinson, because of all the hype that he got the entire offseason, the entire year this year. And although Bijan Robinson may be a very, very, very elite running back prospect, which he absolutely is, some of you guys have thrown away your Dynasty teams before this dude, and some of you guys did that and didn't even get the 101. We're going to dive into how running backs are valued in Dynasty, how Bijan is going to be valued, how people have blown up their teams, and the right way to actually pursue a guy like this that has completely changed the landscape of running backs in Dynasty. Long monologue. Let's get into the facts. So, Bijan Robinson. Let's start. I want to start with the ADP. This is a big part of our argument here. Simon, give me all of the findings you have in terms of running backs drafted this year versus the data we have from last year as well, and what is really red flag for you in terms of Bijan this year.
Yeah, so this is using our Dynasty domain ADP that we've done through some mock drafts that we've done in the offseason. So specifically in the month of December is the ADP I'm using right now. If we look at the grand landscape of RBs from last season, the overall season ADP from this offseason versus now, almost every single running back has dropped drastically in ADP.
Like at least a full round?
Yeah. So, for instance, Jonathan Taylor last year, his ADP was at the 4-3. So not the fourth round. His ADP was fourth overall. Right now, it's 19th. Najee Harris, 10th. He was just past the 10th on average. Right now, he's 51st. Christian McCaffrey, 12th. Now he's 32nd. Javonte Williams was 16. Now he is 48th. So this list goes on and on and on. And the grand, the pattern that we're seeing here is that RBs do not maintain their value.
No, absolutely not. And I think, looking at those numbers, we're not saying, okay, you can't draft Bijan because he's going to definitely lose value. That's obviously not guaranteed. Look, Breece Hall pretty much stayed the same in terms of where he was drafted last year and this year. He had a meteoric rise and then a fall after the injury. So he was able to maintain his. So then I guess your argument would be, okay, well, Bijan can do the same thing. He can go up, not get injured, and stay there. The problem with that is Bijan is almost being drafted at his ceiling, in our opinions, because of how we think you should play Dynasty. If you're playing in a super flex league especially, there's absolutely no way that you can be drafting any running back over these elite quarterbacks because of the scarcity of the position.
Yeah, Nathan, you haven't said anything yet.
I know. I'm going to get to you next. I swear.
Good,
let me just finish the point. Now, you're talking about wide receivers. Obviously, they're going to hold their value well. But our point with the ADP data is if you drafted Najee Harris, if you drafted DeAndre Swift, if you drafted Javonte Williams in the first or turn of the second round last year, you are screwed value-wise. I mean, you threw away an opportunity to have at the very least, a stable asset, or even in terms of some of these quarterbacks, Jalen Hurts, Trevor Lawrence, an increasing asset. And you know that quarterbacks are the safer play. You threw that away because you wasted your first round startup pick on Najee Harris, who, while Najee, we respect him as a player, and he's definitely not a carbon copy of Trent Richardson, he is not the guy you wanted to place your first round dynasty capital in. I mean, you're talking about having these guys for multiple years, and you're playing in a super flex league. There's no reason you should ever be taking a running back over any of these quarterbacks and over that top tier receivers either. And we've just found that running backs continue to tank dynasty teams when you take them early in startups. What do you got, Nathan? I mean, tell us about BIJAN. Give us more insight on why this is just a bad decision for some people.
Yeah, I mean, you don't really have to look beyond this year to know that running backs as a whole have been incredibly disappointing. I mean, you're talking about the guys going like Najee and Swift and Javonte and JT, mainly those top 4 guys that were pretty much consensus top 4 in Dynasty. Every single one of them is underwhelmed. Every single one. And running backs, there's a reason that they normally last until they're about 28 years old. Yes, we understand you cannot account for injury in the value of a player when they go into the league where they're like, oh, well, they could get injured. That doesn't really affect their value until they get injured multiple times. But these are running backs we're talking about, and we know that their durability is not as long as wide receivers and quarterbacks. With the exception of Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, in the first round, why are you not taking a quarterback in a super flex dynasty league? It is paramount that you have some security at the quarterback position. Like, even in the second round, why are you not on the tail end taking another one of those top 12 or top 15 quarterbacks? Bijan Robinson is incredible. His statistics this year in 2022, 12 games, 258 rushing attempts, 1,580 rushing yards, 20 total touchdowns, 19 receptions for 314 receiving yards. He will be 21 years old next year. The 101, which everyone assumes that Bijan Robinson is going to go at the 101 in Dynasty rookie drafts. That is going, what did you say according to our ADP? 13th overall?
Yep, 13th pick.
So the turn of the first.
Assuming
Same place Najee was
assuming that you should be drafting, that every team in the first round should be drafting a quarterback or Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, why are you taking Bijan Robinson at his ceiling before he's even stepped onto the field? I thought we would learn our lesson with Breece Hall, and yet we haven't. Saquon Barkley is the greatest running back prospect of all time. If you're going back in time, are you drafting Saquon Barkley in the first round?
Yes.
Of Dynasty startups?
Yes. He won you the league that year, and then he's still been an extremely valuable.
No, I'm not taking him in the first. No. I would take him mid-second. I mean, he there was a while there where Saquon.
I'm not taking him 101 like he was
but you
going.
You saw how his value.
Right.
You just even how his value fluctuated.
Yes.
It down all the way to like the 4th and 5th round. Even just like
last year.
6-7 months ago.
That's the one thing I was going to say. The one weird thing about this, the only running backs whose ADP has risen this last year, Breece Hall, he did move up by 3 spots in ADP.
Who tore his ACL?
Kenneth Walker, who moved up by like 30 spots. ETN, who only moved down by 1. Mm-hmm. And the other running back that did not move down, completely maintained ADP, was Saquon Barkley.
Do you know what the common denominator is between all of those guys that have increased their ADP? They were not drafted at their ceiling.
Bingo. That is it, because that is really a good point. It's something you're looking at. Okay, these are all young running backs. 2 of them were rookie running backs.
That was a great point, Nathan.
And yeah, I mean,
it genuinely was.
It seriously was. The difference is Kenneth Walker. You could get him, and you knew eventually he was going to start when Rashad Penny got hurt. You could get him in the 5th or past round last year. Like, I mean, he was sliding that far in some drafts, and then guys like ETN was falling. He was going earlier in startup draft season last year, and as startup draft season went on, he was falling into the 4th and 5th round. Again, you knew these guys, if they had starting roles, had room to grow into their value. You want to be getting these increasing assets. And now you're looking at Bijan. I mean, look, Bijan could come out and just completely floor expectations. I am not taking Bijan over these quarterbacks still. He could do as well as he wants. We did that with Jonathan Taylor. We looked at Jonathan Taylor and we said, look, Jonathan Taylor, he came out, he was the RB1, he scored 20 points a game. I'm loving it. And then people took him over quarterbacks, and look what happened.
And his ADP has dropped by more than a full round.
That is the comparable situation here with BIJAN. BIJAN can come out next year and do whatever the freak he wants, and he can just knock people's socks off. He is being valued already very, very close, if not at his ceiling. And you do not want to buy into players at their ceiling pretty much in general. You especially do not want to buy into running backs, the most volatile position group in fantasy, at their ceiling.
Yep. It reminds me of Javonte Williams, and Nathan nailed it, and we said this about Javonte last year. Do not buy the player that people are drafting when they cannot outperform that ADP. Like,
absolutely.
Javonte Williams was being drafted at RB3. Did we really think he would ever get higher than RB3? No. Draft the guy who's being drafted at RB12 who could be RB6.
So there's
and Bijan's having the same thing right now. He's being drafted at RB1. He cannot get any higher than that. Best case scenario, you maintain that value.
Yeah, absolutely.
Best case.
So there's two things I want to cover in this video as we kind of continue on. The first one is the landscape of other types of running backs, veteran running backs in these startup drafts as we've found so far. And the other one is what people should be doing if they have the 101. So let's talk about the running backs landscape first. So something we have noticed just as a trend in our ADP data is that, since people have faced such heavy repercussions for, drafting running backs early last year, people are overcorrecting now. So we are seeing quarterbacks go very, very quickly, and then there's a huge tier drop-off, which is very smart. You should grab the quarterbacks while you can. But then after that, people are very, very reluctant to take any running back at all. And because of this, running backs as a whole, as they probably should, there's been a logical correction there, have slid down in ADP. However, guys who are up in age and are a running back are sliding a little bit too far, actually. And now you're going into the 7th and 8th round, and you're getting Nick Chubb there. You're getting Dalvin Cook there. Joe Mixon went in the 6th round. I mean, Joe Mixon is still a top 12 dynasty running back going in the 6th round of some of our startup drafts. So not only can you look, to get a more of a secure cornerstone in the late 1st, early 2nd, you can get almost as much production at literally a fraction of the cost because of the running back landscape.
In our ADP, our December ADP, there are 3, I believe all 3 of these were RB1s this year. Running backs going in the 6th round of startups. So 60th overall, Joe Mixon, 66th, Nick Chubb, and 70th is Derrick Henry. And those guys, those are all going in the 6th round.
Derrick Henry is an high-end RB1 this year. Like, he has continued to be a unicorn. That is, to me, that just is a better strategy. Get your value, get guys you are going to increase in value or stay the same, which wide receivers, again, are like that.
Wide receivers maintain their value so much longer. And
even tight ends because of their length of, running back is the last position you want to go for there. Let's talk about what people should do who are watching this video who have the 101. What do you got? Simon, you have the 101 in a couple leagues. Let's go to you here. What are you going to do with the 101? What should you be doing here?
Sell. I love Bijan. Like, he's great.
Who doesn't?
This is not a question of the talent. We'll say that over and over again. We are not saying Bijan Robinson is bad and he's going to bust. We're not saying that at all. But if I can turn around and sell Bijan Robinson for the guys directly behind him in ADP, CeeDee Lamb, A.J. Brown, Dak Prescott, Tua Tagovailoa, Jalen Waddle.
That is absurd.
Mark Andrews. Like, I will keep going. There's
just
so many guys. And honestly, like, maybe you prefer him as a player and you want him in your lineup over them. Maybe he hasn't been in the NFL yet. I prefer those guys because I know that they're good and I know that they are capable of putting up that 20 points a game. Bijan probably is. But if I can sell him for those guys at a premium and then get something on top,
a scarce
I'm absolutely
position,
doing
secure value. And we should specify. We should have specified this at the beginning. This is for Superflex League. So if you're playing in a 1 QB league, that obviously changes things here. But we're talking about Dynasty Superflex Leagues, which is, getting to be the majority of leagues at this point. If you have these league settings, there's really no chance you shouldn't be taking a quarterback ahead of, or Bijan Robinson. But you should always be taking these quarterbacks. So any thoughts on the 101?
Yeah, we're not making this up and just being obnoxiously bold. This has worked for people in the past. I know, Simon, you're going to hate me for saying this again because I've said it all the time, but the 2022 101 last year was valued significantly high because of Breece Hall. 23, even more valuable than the 2022 101. I sold the 2022 101 for A.J. Brown straight up.
It looks real good now.
It looks really good. So if you can get something higher than that compared to what A.J. Brown was valued going into this past season, like you're getting an even better,
And I think
even better return.
that's the perfect type of trade you should look for. A.J. Brown working his way
Proven
value
asset.
up. Is A.J. Brown playing at his ceiling? He's getting pretty close to it. So at the same time, what you would want to do to compensate for that, if you're trading the 101 for an A.J. Brown asset, you know you can get more on top, do it. Get guys that you know can increase in value and get that proven wide receiver. Now, the difference, obviously positionally, is that quarterbacks and wide receivers can play at their ceiling and they're still going to maintain that value. That is just the art of the difference in positions. At the same time, I think BIJAN also, I will say, the 101 is a sell. I will own BIJAN shares. I think he's incredible. I think he's a great player. I am going to play the opposite of everybody else. I'm going to wait until he dips, which he will at some point, whether it's because of injury or because of not producing or because, rookie running backs don't always produce right away.
Maybe you won't own him as a rookie. But
at some point I'm going to own him because I like the prospect. I believe in him. I'm not buying him at his ceiling. I will buy him similar to even Jonathan Taylor. I am much more comfortable owning Jonathan Taylor at this price point than I was when he was going at the 105 or in between the 105 and the 112.
Yeah. So what about some examples here, like sort of a price check? Jalen Waddle. Are you taking Jalen Waddle or Bijan Robinson?
Waddle.
You can get Waddle plus
Yeah,
for
you can.
Bijan.
So that's what
I don't think
Obviously-
Waddle would be enough for me to sell.
No.
Bijan
So
Robinson.
But
if in a vacuum,
if value wasn't
Yes.
a thing, you would be taking Waddle over Bijan, probably.
yes.
But here's what the price check I'm looking at. I'm looking at our ADP and seeing that Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields are going just hardly above the 101. What do you think? Do you think you could
A
still
first
get
and a second
Do you
for
still
one of
think
those
you
guys?
could still get Trevor Lawrence for the 101?
If you
can do that,
look, if
you're
you,
a wizard.
If you can move off the 101 into any of these secure quarterbacks, which there's only about 12 of them, smash. Like
Kyler
holy
Murray.
crap.
Kyler Murray has the same exact ADP as the rookie 101.
Look, hey, you want to be a pro at Dynasty? Move off the 101 and get Kyler Murray plus. That is wizard stuff.
or just do it straight up.
Or
one
just
for
do it
one.
straight up. I mean,
I would take the market value hit there and just take Kyler straight up.
yeah, holy smokes. There's so much.
And it's interesting too because sometimes in startups, like startup market value looks a little bit different than trade value after that startup occurs.
absolutely.
So I don't know how many people are actually going to be crazy enough to give you Kyler Murray straight up for that 101.
Maybe.
But
You
people are
may even have to
drafting-
give up the 101 plus a little something
Do
to
it.
maybe get Kyler.
Get a
I would
quarterback.
still do it.
Get one of those.
Still would.
And here's the other thing, in terms of Bijan Robinson, again, he is a great prospect.
We think he's going to be amazing. If I were to predict how Bijan Robinson is going to do in the NFL, I would say he's probably going to be a career, at least for the first half of his career, at least a top 5 dynasty running back.
If you're going to trade anything,
Why would I put my money on that?
trade the pick, not the player. Before you pick Bijan. Don't pick Bijan and then move him. The pick. All picks hold, even if it's a marginal amount, they always hold more value than the player themselves.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Because of the flexibility. Because
And then buy the
because of
dip.
the freedom. Yeah, and then buy the dip. So
yeah, because what if something goes wrong? I don't know. People are insane.
again, Bijan, we love him. He's going to be great. And then when we say he's ruined dynasty teams, it's because people have given up all of their assets to tank so hard to get Bijan, and the return they're going to get is not enough to completely save their dynasty team. You're looking at either a 5 or 6 year rebuild or completely shooting themselves in the foot, and you'll never rebound from it.
Yeah,
It
this
is
isn't
crazy.
the NBA. One player just does not turn your
If
your
you
team
you
around.
did that and you've realized that you've made a mistake, the first step is going to be to sell Bijan Robinson. He will not save your fantasy team. He is too volatile of an asset to put all of your chips in on. So we love Bijan. He has really changed the dynasty landscape. It's going to cause a lot of people to rage quit. But for now, we're looking at Bijan. We're going to sell that pick, and we're going to keep making smart dynasty moves and taking the value that falls to us in drafts. So make sure you like the video. If you made it all the way through, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're going to come out with all kinds of bold and push you to the limits dynasty content as the season goes on. The offseason obviously is dynasty season, so we'll get towards that as well. As always, thank you for listening, and we appreciate it, and we'll see you later.